worked with some of the biggest media outlets in the country.
Yeah. I remember standing as a young 19, 20-year-old outside the BJP office in Karnataka. My senior reporter came to me and said, "क्या करोगी ये सब करके बच्चे पैदा करो?" And I was like, okay, if I ever become a journalist, this man is going to have it for me.
Has he had it? Did you decide to leave it all and go independent? Why?
I mean, since when did journalism become about views? I mean, the idea was always to create impact.
And chase the truth.
Yeah, and not catch eyeballs. You know, that race to get views really had to stop. Eco-anxiety.
What do you mean by that?
It's basically being anxious about climate change. It's how climate is changing and how you cannot do anything about it. It is not just Delhi that is polluted. Every state is polluted.
Hi everyone, I'm Stuti and I'm your host on the Because She Can podcast. Today we have an exceptionally dynamic speaker with us, Navya. She's an independent journalist who runs News with Navya and is also a climate action change agent. So let's dive into her incredible journey today. Thank you, Navya, for joining us on the Because She Can podcast.
Thank you so much
And
for inviting me.
all the way from beautiful sunny Goa to Delhi ki sardi. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very thrilled to be here.
I want to start from your childhood, and the reason why is because I feel for the kind of work we are doing right now, to hold a conversation, or to be a journalist, to chase stories, to find the truth, you have to be an eternally curious soul. And that's not something you can just develop. I think that's something that you're born with, you're inherent. So I want to ask you, when you look back at your childhood, can you tell us a little bit about how you were as a child that led you to be the journalist you are today?
Right. So I would say yes, I was always curious. I am curious. I come from a defense background. So I've lived across the country. I was born in Rajasthan. I moved to different states. And I think one thing that has really stayed with me is that now when I talk about issues, say for example, if I'm talking about an issue that's happening in Rajasthan, I can connect to it because I've lived there. Right. And even as a child, I was able to understand that, say for example, you're in a place like Jaipur. Even the locals living in Jaipur are dependent on news to understand what's happening. They don't have the time to go around and see what's happening in the city. Forget about what's happening in the country. So that dependency on news media, on TV, on print at that time was immense.
Whether they were right or wrong.
Yes. So to give them the right picture, to tell them that, this is what is happening, both sides is really important. And becoming a journalist was never a part of the plan.
Really?
Yes.
It was serendipity?
Yeah, it was never a part of the plan. I wanted to join the forces. My interest kept shifting. I also wanted to be a lawyer at some point of time. And things just, happened in such a way that I ended up in Bangalore, in Christ University. And I did my triple majors in media, economics, and political science.
Triple majors? How did you manage that?
That was hectic, but a brilliant combination. I'm really glad I did that because that just brought too many aspects together. We were talking about public policy, we were talking about policy making, we were talking about the economy of the country, and then we were talking about media. And I think when you put all of this together, it's a deadly combination.
Plus, with your upbringing, you had a very multifaceted view of India and Bharat. And not just the metropolitan cities.
Absolutely. I mean, I have done my 12th from a place called Binaguri, which is in North Bengal, which is in the middle of a village because my dad was posted there and I had no other option. So I used to travel 70 kilometers one way for school, which is 140 kilometers in a day, just to go to that school.
Really?
Because there was no other school in that area. So I've given my 12 boards like that. So of course that gives you perspective. When you're that young, you may not be able to realize it, but when you grow up, it stays with you.
It's those experiences that make you be a very open-minded journalist.
Absolutely.
And so you graduated from Christ University and you worked with some of the biggest media outlets in the country. Which ones were those? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I always wanted to keep myself busy. That was the idea. So I started off my internship with Times of India, moved on to India Today. After India Today, I was with The Logical Indian and Quint. Now, these two are digital news platforms.
Yes.
To now when I'm doing my own. So India Today was a TV channel. My experience with TV was thrilling, interesting, but messy.
Messy.
Yes.
Why do you say messy?
I think it's a little too dirty to be in.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think more so if as a woman?
I do.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm very glad you mentioned that because I remember standing as a young 19, 20-year-old outside the BJP office in Karnataka. And my senior reporter came to me and said, "Kya karogi ye sab karke, bacche paida karo." And I was like, okay, if I ever become a journalist, this man is going to have it for me.
Has he had it?
I think he does. My work speaks for myself. It's crazy. I mean, there's so many women reporters in the country.
Yeah.
There's so many of them doing such bold work, reporting even when they're expecting, jumping walls, reporting on wars, reporting on every.
Look at Barkha Dutt. Did any man do what she did?
Exactly. And there's so many of Indian reporters, Palki Sharma, so many of them, they're going abroad to shoot on international conflicts, which I think is so brave. But then you have male reporters calling you out like that. So that was when I realized that TV is also a place where you have to fight a lot of unnecessary battles.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose. You need to fight those battles, and at that place, and at that place, journalism takes a backseat.
Yeah.
So why be in such a place where you have to constantly keep, fighting stupid issues that don't really matter,
wasting your energy on things.
And it just takes a lot out of you, I think. So that's when I realized that let's try digital media, and also because everybody has a phone. I don't think we watch TV anymore to stay updated.
Who does?
Nobody
Except like maybe when the India-Australia match was
Exactly.
is when you switch on your Tata Sky.
Otherwise, we have apps for every channel. We have social media. We have Instagram. Everything keeps you updated. So that was the plan. I wanted to be on every smartphone. I wanted people to stay updated. And that's when we started talking about issues at the Logical Indian. So we started talking about politics, women's safety. I was their video journalist, I remember. I used to record a lot of videos. And we had a brilliant video editing team, video team, and we used to do amazing work together. A lot of our videos went viral at that point of time.
Some of these videos that are very close to your heart?
A lot of them. I think my reportage during COVID was brilliant. A lot of stories that we did when we talked about how underprepared hospitals in India are. I think that really touched every Indian, I would say, because there were such heartbreaking videos of people standing outside hospitals, crying for their loved ones, waiting for a bed. I think those videos really stay with you. I mean, I'm still not over them, definitely not.
Yeah.
So we wanted that to become a voice, and we wanted the government to realize that this is not cool. You need to look after your citizens. I mean, we know COVID was unexpected, but then we have to be prepared for a crisis like this.
Yeah.
So I think at that time, a lot of my videos were picked up by politicians. One of them is on Rahul Gandhi's feed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm not very proud of politicians sharing it, but then we got the views. We reached more people. And I think that was the impact that we wanted to create. So when you do bold stories like these, you give the power to people to ask questions. That's what we were doing.
The questions that need to be asked.
Absolutely.
And and then you're literally Rahul Gandhi is posting you. You're out there as a journalist with all these media outlets. And it is a very prestigious job, and it comes with a lot of fame and perks. But you decide to leave it all and go independent.
Yeah.
Why did Navya decide to do that?
I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to be a journalist, not an employee. I've said that multiple times.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
I did not want my stories to become daily targets. I did not want to do 5 stories in a day to, come out as a good employee in front of my boss. I did not want them to set targets that, you have to write 6 stories, whatever 6 stories, and they have to perform.
Oh, really?
And they have to perform well. By perform, I mean views. I mean, since when did journalism become about views? I mean, the idea was always to create impact.
and chase the truth.
Yeah, and not catch eyeballs. I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many, and who are we competing with at the end of the day? If you're a journalist, I cannot be competing with someone who's cooking something on Instagram or wearing something on Instagram. I'm doing some serious stuff. I mean, there's a lot of difference. I mean, if we're really talking about views, then I don't think we can ever create an impact.
And then, like you said, who are you competing with?
Exactly.
Supposing you have 100K views,
then
your boss will tell you to get 110K.
It's
and
never
that
ending.
number is never ending.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that race to get views really had to stop. And I saw myself. I've written about this very boldly that I saw myself in the kitchen with my laptop, and I'm cooking dal, and I'm also typing, and I'm doing everything at once, and neither am I having a good meal, nor am I writing a good story. Everything is a mess. And that's how my days was. I said, this is not going to happen. I mean, I have a job, I have money, I'm not even eating well, I'm not even happy with what I'm doing. What's the point? So then I said, no, I need to, if I'm here to tell stories, might as well just tell stories and not do all of this.
But your story is so inspiring because it's very hard for a lot of people to get out of the rat race and prioritize their personal happiness. So that's so inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with us. And then you started News with Navya.
Yes.
Tell us about that. How was that born?
Yeah, so the idea was to bring out stories that remain untold.
Okay.
That was the idea. Yeah. We started talking about a lot of issues, politics, we talked about environment, women's safety, civic issues, but then we had to narrow it down to one issue.
Okay.
Because we did not want to, get lost in the crowd. The media industry is cluttered right now. There's so many channels, there's so many people bringing out so much information.
Yeah.
And bringing out all sorts of information that you have to stand out.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to pick a niche. So my niche was climate change. When I realized that when I was working with organizations, climate change was the most neglected topic. I mean, it was last in the priority that, if there is nothing to schedule for 6 p.m., just write something on the environment. That was the idea.
But that is true.
And I was like, how do you expect people to take it seriously when you are not taking it seriously?
When global leaders are denying global warming.
Oh my God. Yeah. And just today, I mean, when I was interacting with a lot of speakers in the morning, I was told that, children in the US are facing something called eco-anxiety. They are anxious.
Eco-anxiety?
Eco-anxiety.
What do you mean by that?
It's basically being anxious about climate change. It's how climate is changing and how you cannot do anything about it.
I just realized I have eco-anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, imagine.
You just diagnosed me right now.
I mean, imagine you're sitting here, you have so much to do. You have so many other things scheduled. There is pollution outside in Delhi. People are, struggling to breathe clean air, and you're not doing anything about it. If you really think about it, it'll really get on your nerves.
But this actually subconsciously, as a resident of Delhi, plays on my mind. The minute Diwali is around the corner, there's this anxiety about pollution. You're absolutely right.
I mean, imagine, this was actually a story that we did recently, that since when did festivals become synonymous with pollution? I mean, we used to be really happy saying that, the festive season is coming, we're going to buy this, we're going to celebrate this. And now it's about, stay inside, don't step out because there's pollution. Air is really bad. Since when did we, become a part of such a world?
But it is a reality.
Absolutely.
And because you're a thought leader on climate change, what can we do about Delhi pollution?
I think these solutions are complicated, but there are solutions. I think the first thing that really needs to change here is the blame game.
Achha.
We need to stop blaming the people. People need to stop blaming the government. We just need to stop this entire game, and together we need to look for solutions. I think we've had enough of all states blaming each other, the parties blaming each other, and every year it's the same story. And it's not just Delhi, honestly. It is not just Delhi that is polluted. Every state is polluted. I'm from Goa. It's peak season in Goa right now. There is, you just can't drive on Goa roads right now because there's so many people in Goa. There's pollution. There's a lot of pollution.
But nobody's talking about that.
I mean, I have a nephew who is close to 2 years old, and we're worried for him because he's too young and he's breathing that air every day. So we prefer not to step out on most days because you can see the pollution, you can feel it in your throat when you step out. So I think solutions are simple. Solutions are eco-conscious choices. Choices that you need to take, I need to take if I'm here for a day, if you are here for a longer period of time. I think those choices as to where are you traveling, how are you traveling, what is the mode of transport, how are your actions contributing to climate change. We can, I think the only thing that's messed up here is we're sitting in our living rooms and passing comments that, Delhi is so polluted. And then we are back to our SUVs driving on the streets, and Delhi is so polluted. It is polluted because of us. Of course, there are so many reasons. Punjab, Haryana, stubble burning, of course, but there's no one reason that's really contributing to this.
It's accumulated choices that have brought us here, and hopefully our more conscious cumulated choices that didn't get us out of here.
Absolutely.
So that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to think of solutions together. That's the way forward.
Yeah, I like that. You're now an inspiring independent journalist yourself. But I want to ask you, who are some of your role models that you look up to for inspiration?
I think for inspiration, my role model has always been my mother. Keeping aside journalism, I think my role model has always been my mother. I have seen her work despite all odds.
What did she do?
So she was a teacher. She's been in the teaching industry for a really long time. And now when we've moved to Goa, she has started a very new career for herself. She's now a professional baker.
Oh, nice.
And that was primarily the reason we moved to Goa. She wanted
really?
She wanted to become a baker. She wanted to start a bakery. She wanted that typical life where, there's this fragrance of freshly baked bread and cookies and everything that's happening.
Love it.
Yeah. So all of that is happening the entire day. I've just learned from her that, she told me very early in my career that you've got to be independent. You've got to be independent, and by independent, financially independent, drive your car, do everything on your own. Don't be dependent on me, your father, or anyone, even though we live in the same house. But you've got to do everything on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that push has really, really helped me. So there are days when, she's also the editor sometimes to my scripts. She proofreads a lot of my scripts, and she's also someone who gives very critical feedback when she doesn't like something.
Moms are the most critical.
Yes. I think we need them.
And I think that works.
It does. Yeah. It does. So she's very brutal when it comes to giving criticism. She's like, no, this is not making sense. What are you even trying to say? And but she's also someone who cheers the most for me. So I think I've really learned a lot from her.
Navya, you have taken a very bold step in your career, and you stepped back from having a fixed salary, working with big media outlets, to being an independent journalist.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, for a lot of people listening in who do want to take that step, what would your advice be to people like that?
I think I would suggest not to take any impulsive decision.
Okay.
I would not say that because I left a comfortable job where I was getting a fixed salary, I did the right thing, or that is the norm, that is what you should do. I think everybody has responsibilities, different economic backgrounds and everything, right? There's so many things to consider when you consider leaving a job. When you say that you're going to be jobless for some time, you're going to figure out a way to earn money, maybe in a few months. I think that is something I struggled with for a really long time. That is also about making a choice. Salary to me was a drug that I was given every month, which kept me back. Yeah, which kept me back in the company every month. That it's okay. 30th of the month, he get rahe lete. Ek aur mahina. Till when? Nothing is going to change. At the end of the day, every employee is just a resource, right? The company does not really care who's coming, who's going. And I've seen that from all angles as such. So it's important for an employee to understand one thing. Can you really stay in that organization and still be relevant, still follow what you like, report on things that you want, and still get appreciated? Or you want to leave all of that, you want to leave the financial stability, you want to leave that salary and start your own, or maybe join someone else, right? So that choice really has to depend on a lot of things, on your situation, on where you are monetarily in your life. But I think as a journalist, the idea is to create impact. If you're able to do it with an organization, you're fortunate. If not, I think the best way is to do your own. And there's so many avenues to earn money now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just too many avenues to earn money.
We're no longer restricted to, oh, you're in a box, or oh, you're just a journalist, or oh, you're a corporate employee.
Absolutely.
Like the world is our oyster, and I love that. That's
how the world changed, right? Earlier we used to talk about engineering, doctor. Then we switched to IT jobs. Now it's green jobs, sustainability, journalism, media, influencers.
I mean,
it's amazing and people are coming up with these things on their own. Yeah. I mean, we did not really think influencers could be something that, could really change the world. No matter how much we criticize influencers as such, we need them for everything that we do, to promote everything that we do.
We really
to reach a wider audience, I'd say. So I think there are too many ways to earn money, and it's really about what you want and what you can give. I would also like to add here that a lot of people want to be employees. A lot of people want to work for companies, live a comfortable life, get salary and go home, which is fine.
Which is okay.
Which is perfectly fine. I don't like the idea
that they get their own.
Yeah, I don't like the idea where a lot of people who've started their own tend to, preach that everybody should start their own.
Or like how everybody should be a startup founder. No.
it's to each its own.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So self-introspection, but I loved what you said, that don't let your salary be your drug and hold you down.
Absolutely.
I loved that. So what's next for News with Navya?
So News with Navya wants to become a platform for everything that's about sustainability.
Okay.
Because, I've understood that this sector is so confusing. When I started talking about climate change, people were like, kitne din baat karogi? 2 din, 10 din, uske baad kya? Because people thought it's such a small topic. That यहाँ पे आइस पिघल रही है, यहाँ पे बारिश नहीं हो रही है, यहाँ पे pollution है, कहानी खत्म होगी, चलो. But there's so much happening. I mean, when you talk about carbon emissions, when you talk about vehicles, when you come up with stories that really relate to people. Like recently, I did a story on books when I said your favorite publishing house, which is Penguin Random House, is using 100% recycled paper. So people were like, wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And people were like, for book lovers, this is brilliant.
Yeah, because I'm one of those that I just can't read a book on Kindle. I need a paperback.
The feel and touch of a paper is a must for me as well. Absolutely. So these are stories, when you bring it down, when you bring it out for people to know, they love it, because these are stories that are also surrounded by them, right? And so many things. Say, for example, you talk about something like how I think today I realized I'm carrying so many chargers with me. Like there's a phone charger, there's a MacBook charger, there's something else, all these devices. But now there will be one cable for everything that you use very soon in India. That's sustainable. That is also so convenient for people who, like me, are on a one-day trip and carrying so many chargers and getting them tangled up. I think that's so cool.
Stories like that.
So these are solutions. These are everyday solutions. So we want to build a platform where people can find these everyday solutions and where people can really understand what climate change is and what they can do about it. Because everything that we do now and that we will do in future will impact the planet in some way or the other. And it's no more about what you're saving for the future generation and all of that, because even the present generation is suffering. The present generation is deprived of so many resources already that I'm not even thinking about what's going to happen in future. So I think the idea is to become a repository for all these climate action news and empower people with information that they should know of.
I love it. So, Navya, we always do a rapid fire.
Yeah.
But because it's with you, our rapid fire is also sustainable.
Okay.
You'll find out why.
Okay.
So are you ready for your sustainable rapid fire?
I am. Yes.
Okay.
Let's start.
Okay. So, Navya, your first question. If you could transport yourself to any natural setting right now, and of course sustainably transport yourself, teleport maybe, where would it be and why?
I think to any forest.
Achha.
Because they're disappearing. I think the faster I get there, the better, because I'm afraid I won't be able to see much of that.
That's sad.
Even
you're
in
making
Goa,
me laugh. I know it's sad, but it's...
I don't want to laugh, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Goa, trees are like just disappearing. I want to be in a forest, definitely.
Take
like
me
a natural,
with you, please.
like a natural, cool environment. You don't need an air conditioner or nothing, because I think that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. Okay, so if you were to impart one very unconventional tip to everyone for living a more sustainable life, what would it be?
I think this is not unconventional, but a little misunderstood. A lot of people think that sustainability is about using less of everything, but I would just like to remind people that less is more, right? Just use as many resources as you want. Just make sure that you're doing it right.
Okay.
That's
Love
important.
that. Love that. again, back to travel. So what's the top destination on your travel wish list that embodies sustainable living practices?
I think I live in Goa and I think it's a brilliant place. I mean, I am living in Goa, but I've still not explored the entire state. And I think every corner of that state is just way beyond just parties and beaches. There's so many sustainable, eco-friendly practices that are happening. And it's, when you travel there, you realize that it's been a part of their lives for so long. It's trendy for us now. It's trending for us now. It wasn't trending for them. It was a way of life. Yeah, it was a way of life.
Yeah.
So I think that really inspires me a lot, and I would want to, when I have my days off, I would want to explore more of Goa to appreciate that side of Goa.
Love it. If you had one superpower related to environmental conservation, what would it be?
That's a tough one.
You could have multiple.
Yeah, I think there's so much going wrong that I want to have too many superpowers. Sometimes I just want to catch hold of people and tell them that, it's serious, it's a reality, it's not a hoax. But
and maybe actually make them believe you.
Yeah, I mean, just I would like people to think about it seriously. Just like give it a thought. There's so much happening in our everyday lives that we don't really get time to think about it. I think I'd like to offer some people some free time to think about issues that matter.
That's a nice one. Free time to other people.
I want people to take some days off, think about issues that matter, and then prioritize.
Love that.
That'll be great.
Just one last question before you go. So it's the Because She Can podcast.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, what does the hashtag Because She Can mean to you?
I think the hashtag is just perfect and one of the best that I've come across in recent times.
Thank you.
Because I think women can do everything. And there are such inspiring and amazing stories of women in different sectors, in different industries, in different walks of life, doing such amazing work. So I think this is also a big slap on the face of people who think we can't.
I love it, Navya. I think we need to get more journalists and people who can give us such bold answers.
Yeah.
I think it's the most bold, vivacious answer we've got today.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'm going to display this everywhere. Because she can.